What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be getting into my Week 10 NFL Power Rankings. We are past the midway point of the season, and we're starting to get a feel for what these teams are all about. So, let's get into it. Starting with the last team, number 32, we got the Houston Texans. 6-1. The Astros may have came out on top in the MLB World Series, but I still believe that the Texans are the worst team in the league. I mean, they were competitive, though. I'll give them that. They were competitive against the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. Primetime game. Lovie Smith got this team together, but it was just not enough for the Texans, and they're still not a very good team. 6-1, trying to just get their quarterback of the future. But let's move on to number 31. We're going to have the Indianapolis Colts. Going to be dropping down 2 spots this week. Wow. I mean, Frank Wright got fired from this program, so now he's gone. And they hired Jeff Saturday, a coach that has not experienced any coaching experience. I just feel like this is tank time for the Colts to get a good quarterback. They're done being on this quarterback carousel. It's a risky move. It's a move that, it's tough to make, but the Colts had the guts to do it, and we're going to see if it pays off for them. This team's just not going to be very good for the rest of this season. So I think that they are the second worst team. It's actually pretty close now between those two. Moving on to number 30, we're going to have the Carolina Panthers staying at the same spot, just getting absolutely obliterated against the Bengals this week. Their defense, it just was, this defense has a lot more talent than I think they've been showing, but it was horrible against the Bengals. And then this offense just still not good. This locker room's just broken, it feels like here. Just not a lot to play for, I think, for Carolina at 2-7 right now. It's just not a very good football team at the slightest, and they're just one of the bottom teams. Moving on to number 29, we're going to have the Lions jumping up 2 spots at 2-6. Detroit got the win this week over the Packers. Big win. We're finally able to close out one of these close games that they got. Their defense has played better as of late, especially this previous week. I know the Green Bay Packers have been very much struggling, but holding them to only 9 points this week. And then the offense, it's been not great ever since that Seahawks game. So I'm not sure what to think of the Lions right now. They got a big win, but yeah, I mean, it's still, their season's pretty much done. All right, let's go into the decent tier. Starting out with number 28, we're going to have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Actually going to be dropping down 2 spots because of a few teams jumping ahead of them, but they're on bye this week, so nothing to talk about there. Moving on to number 27, we're going to have the Las Vegas Raiders, arguably the most disappointing team this season, dropping down 7 spots. Wow. Originally in the year, I had the Raiders as a playoff team, I believe, at 10-7 or 11, even 11-6, in my season predictions, and it has gone south. This Raiders team blows a big lead to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right when you thought maybe they were going to be able to get their stride going a bit, they just were horrible. And it's just the Raiders at this point. This is just what they are. They're not a very good football team. And Derek Carr he hasn't played that bad, but other than Devontae Adams, Crosby, what else does this Raiders team have? Jones hasn't been that impressive. It's just not a very good team. Let's be completely honest. The Raiders just are not playing good, and they're not living up to expectations at all. Moving on to number 26, a team that's exceeding expectations in my eyes, the Chicago Bears. Really put up a fight this week against the Miami Dolphins. Justin Fields had a horrible start to the year, but he has really picked things up now that this team has started to implement some, of Justin Fields' mobility into their game, and it has gone a huge way for the Bears. They're playing a lot better on the offensive side of the ball. Now, the Bears' defense sucks, don't get me wrong. That is proven. They're a well-coached defense on that side of the ball, but it's just not a very good defense. But the Bears, they just do not have talent. But you got to like Justin Fields right now. I feel like he's your quarterback of the future, and you're going to have to keep that going forward for him. So congratulations to the Bears, playing solid right now. Let's move on to number 25. We're going to have the Jacksonville Jaguars at 3-6. Wherever they are. There they are. The Jags. Were able to get the win. They were able to complete a comeback. So you're happy for the Jags fans, man. They went through a rough stretch. Lawrence looked better in this game, although he was going up against a bad Raiders defense. But he did play better. And the Jaguars were able to complete a comeback. Now, 2-6 season from that point. Now they're 3-6. I mean, their season's really out of jeopardy at this point for them. But they're trying their best to stay in this race right now. And hopefully they can keep it going. Trayvon Walker also played much better this week for the Jags. So their defense played better. But yeah, I still don't really – my opinion doesn't really change too much on the Jags. They're going to be staying in the same spot. Let's go out to number 24. We're going to have the Green Bay Packers dropping down 7 spots this week. Wow, Green Bay. This is an all-time low. I mean, yeah, an all-time low for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Aaron Rodgers he did not look good really at all against the Lions. I mean, he made a lot of mistakes in that game and just did not will his team to win. And this is the Packers, what you're going to get. If you don't have an elite quarterback, which is what Aaron Rodgers has been for his entire career, this is what you're going to get, a bad football team. The defense, it's been fine. It's been very underwhelming, which should be a top-tier defense this season. The offense has been atrocious. They need to run the football more. It's clear. Their receivers, they can't do anything with those guys. And Aaron Rodgers, trying to play a little bit too much hero ball for this team. It's just horrible in Green Bay. I have not seen it this bad in Green Bay. And I was never anticipating coming into the year that the Packers would be down at 24. Man, that is just bad for Green Bay right now. And we're going to see if I don't even know if this is comebackable. I mean, the NFC's beatable, but they're a game and a half back. And they have a tough schedule. The Green Bay Packers have looked horrible right now. And they deserve to come down because of it. All right, let's move on to number 23. We're going to have the Washington Commanders jumping up 4 spots this week. I know they lost, but a lot of teams are losing, and the Commanders actually looked pretty impressive in that game against the Vikings, especially in the first 3 quarters. Were really playing good football against Kirk Cousins, but then obviously the Vikings found a way to win in the end, and it was just rough for the Commanders. But yeah, with a lot of teams dropping down, I'm feeling a little bit more confident in the Commanders. Their defense is taking a big step up. Taylor Heineke unfortunately threw that game away, and that was unfortunate for the Commanders. But yeah, I mean, the Commanders still in this mediocre phase of their franchise right now. We're going to see if Rivera and this team can maybe sneak into the playoffs right now, because it's definitely beatable. I don't think it's going to happen, though. All right, let's go to number 22. We're going to have the Cleveland Browns on bye, jumping up 2 spots, unlike the Steelers who dropped down. They're just on bye. A lot of teams dropped down with the Packers and the Raiders, so that's why they're going to get into the jump up 2 spots. So let's go on. We have one more team in this decent tier, but I'm going to go on to this tier. Number 21, we're going to have the Atlanta Falcons. I'm just going to throw out these 2. Atlanta Falcons at number 21, jumping up 2 spots, and then the New Orleans Saints at 20, jumping up 2 spots as well. I'm just going to first off say the only reason these 2 teams are in the hunt tier, in my opinion, is because of the NFC South right now. It is wide open. The Buccaneers haven't looked great. But if you look at the if you look at both these teams, I mean, they're two different teams, I would say, right now. A lot of different situations. The Falcons, you got to feel pretty confident with the Falcons this season. They do lose that game just barely, where they classic Chargers Falcons game where they just completely blew that game for both those teams. Especially this one play where the Chargers fumbled it, the Falcons recovered, and on the same play, the defensive lineman for the Falcons fumbled it, and the Chargers got it back. Then they kicked a field goal to win it. So, yeah, the Falcons, they're not great. They're just a choking team, honestly. But Arthur Smith has done a great job for this Falcons. He's calling a lot of play calls, good play calls for this team. Using this lack of talent, using it for the best. This defense not great, but what do you expect from the Falcons? They've overachieved my expectations, that is for sure, this season. Then a team that's underachieved, the New Orleans Saints, just looked horrible this week against the Ravens. I know they're jumping up 2 spots because of it. That's only because of the Packers and the Raiders. Andy Dalton looked bad. This defense has been underwhelming, clearly still. And, they dominated the Raiders a couple weeks ago. But that just seems like a one-time thing now for the Raiders. For the Saints defense. And, yeah, this team's just not very good. And now they don't have their top pick. They traded away to the Eagles. It's just a weird phase right now for the Saints. What are they going to do? It might be time to start thinking about a serious rebuild in New Orleans. But, hey, they're right in the mix with with the Buccaneers for the South. So you got to give them that. All right, let's go on to number 19, a team that I do think is in the decent tier now, but also jumping up 2 spots because of the Green Bay Packers and the Raiders. The Arizona Cardinals at 3-6. Just the same problems for the Arizona Cardinals. This is just a very undisciplined team. Just making mistakes, botched snaps, just undisciplined defense. This team completely gets out physicaled by the Seattle Seahawks in that game. It's just not a very disciplined team at all here in Arizona. And Cliff Kingsbury's, I think, has got to go for the Cardinals if they want to get any better. And Kyler Murray's clearly frustrated. This team is just not very good right now. But they're going to go jump up 2 spots because I do think that they're better than the Saints and the Falcons and any team below them. So, yeah, that's the Cardinals right now at 19. Let's go on to 18. We're going to have the Los Angeles Rams. Going to be dropping down 3 spots at 3-5. Very frustrating loss for the Rams, man. They had that game in the bag against the Bucks. This defense took a big step up this week. I know they're playing the Bucks, who have very much struggled on the offensive side of the ball, but the defense did take a step up. So you like to see that if you're a Rams fan. Now, for the offense, it's still the same offense. Stafford and the Rams just cannot get things going. It's really just the Cooper Kupp show in LA. And it's just, they really need to figure out this O-line problems, in the offseason, because this is just what the Rams are right now. They're just not a very good team right now. And they are very close to falling in this decent tier with all these other teams, which has just become a very mediocre NFL this season. But that is my opinion on the Los Angeles Rams. Let's go on to number 17. We're going to have the Denver Broncos on bye this week, jumping up a spot. We're going to see if they can get these offensive woes figured out. Keep getting on the right track until they did after the Jaguars, and keep getting it going for the next week's game. That is the Broncos right now. Let's go on to 16. We're going to have the New England Patriots staying at the same spot. Just absolutely dominating the Colts in that game. They got 9 sacks. So, this is just what you're going to expect from a Bill Belichick-led football team. They don't have a lot of talent on the defense side of the football, but Bill Belichick finds ways, plays to the strengths of his team, and he, figures things out, and the team just is running all over teams as well. Not a lot of talent on this Patriots team, but you got to respect Bill Belichick. He's a heck of a coach for the Patriots, and they're going to be staying at the same spot at 15, right? I mean, at 16 right now. All right, let's go into number 15. We're going to have the dropping down a spot. We're going to have the Buccaneers, the first playoff team off the board, getting the win just barely over the LA Rams, where Tom Brady had to work his magic. Does this mean Brady's back? I do not think so. This does not indicate that. But the Bucs were able to get the win over the Rams. I'm not sure how much this indicates because the Rams were very much struggling as well as the Bucs. So it's just not a thing that you should look at and be too happy about if you're a Bucs fan. You got the win, of course, and you're in the worst division in the NFL right now. I mean, the AFC South is very close, but it's pretty tight. And you got the job done against a team that struggled. This defense took a lot of steps up, even without Shaq Barrett. They were able to get some things going against the Rams. But that's just my opinion on the Bucs right now. Honestly, I just don't think they're very good. But we're going to have to see, man. It's just a very bad NFL this season. Just not a lot of great teams right now. So that is my opinion on the Bucs. Let's go into number 14. We're going to have the New York Jets. Going to be jumping up 5 spots this week. What a win for New York. What a bounce-back game for Zach Wilson's team. And Robert Saleh's got to get a lot of credit for this turnaround right now. He has really changed this team. Obviously kept those receipts, and it has worked. This defense is very good. Sauce Gardner continues to play at a very high level, their rookie corner. And the Jets, man, the offense, Zach Wilson, I'm still worried about him, but he played a lot better this week, where he looked horrible against the Patriots. So, yeah, I mean, the past 2 weeks, against the Broncos and the Patriots were a struggle for the Jets, to say the least, but on the offensive side of the ball. But they were able to figure some things out against a very good Bills defense. I really counted them out in that one. But congratulations to the Jets. They got the win. All right, let's go on to number 13. We're going to have the New York Giants staying at the same spot on bye. Not a lot to talk about there when your team's on bye. Number 12, we're going to have the Los Angeles Chargers, also staying at the same spot at 5-3. We're just barely able to win that game over the Falcons, where this team was very injured up in this game. They didn't have Williams, their receiver. They didn't have, I think they didn't have Everett. I'm not sure. One of their tight ends. And they didn't have Keenan Allen again. So, obviously, the defense with J.C. Jackson out, it's just an injury team. But they obviously have Justin Herbert, who is carrying that offense right now, and Austin Eckler. They tried to choke away this game to the Falcons, but just couldn't do it. That's a good thing. But the Chargers, they were able to get the win. But still, it's just they're barely able to win all these teams, but they've just been underwhelming as well this year. All right, number 11. We're going to have the Cincinnati Bengals, all actually dropping down 2 spots this week. This really isn't because I was unimpressed with the Bengals or anything. It's really because it's just crazy to make these power rankings. A lot of teams have looked, I think, are more deserving than the Bengals of jumping up a few spots this week. And that's why I think that the Bengals should come down here. Never mind. I'm going to put this team in the contender tier, thinking actually back on it. The Bengals just absolutely demolished the Panthers this week. Very different team than we saw on Monday night. It was a short week for the Bengals after Monday, so they decided, let's get back to work. Very scary day at Halloween, but we're good. Without Jamar Chase, we're going to be happy to get him back. I do think that's still a blow for the Bengals. But, they just played the Panthers, who are a very bad football team, so I'm not going to take too much credit into that win, but good win for Cincy. Moving on to number 10, we're going to have the Minnesota Vikings dropping down 3 spots this week. A lot of people probably like, why the heck are the Vikings dropping down 3 spots? Well, they're 7-1. Don't get me wrong. They're 7-1. But what has this team beat this season? They beat the Green Bay Packers, which at the time was a big win, but not really. They just barely beat the Commanders this week. They just have not played a lot of good football teams this year. Now they play the Bills, the ultimate true test for the Vikings. Last time they played a really good football team, it was the Eagles, and they got demolished on Monday night. You can't discredit the fact that they're just finding ways to win with Kirk Cousins. He's playing good. His offense is very good. Defense has been much better than anticipated. But still, I'm not sure, man, about the Vikings. I were expecting them to come out this game and just demolish the Commanders. But they had to really work back in that game. And if it wasn't for a Taylor Heineke pick, they could have lost that one. So we're going to have to see what the Vikings look like in the next I do think, that they got a big game against the Bills. That's really what's going to determine what this Vikings team's made of here. I know Josh Allen's a little bit injured, so they might catch a big break and not have to play Allen and the Bills. So Josh Allen in there. So we're going to see what happens. All right, moving on right here. We're going to have the number 9 team, the Baltimore Ravens, going to be dropping down a spot this week. Baltimore at 6-3. It's been an impressive past few games for the Ravens. It's time for me to start crediting them. They are going to be dropping down a spot because of a few other teams, but I am moving them into the contender tier, which I haven't done so far this season. Lamar Jackson, played very good on Monday Night Football, and now this defense has taken a big step up these past couple weeks. The addition of Smith has been big for this linebacker team. My one concern with this team is they don't have a lot of good receivers with Rashid Bateman out for the year. So that's going to be rough. I think, if Odell Beckham Jr. can come here, this team's scary. But that's my one concern for the Ravens. They're just a very solid football team all around. And I do think that they should be given some respect and go into the contender tier. Let's go down here. Number 8, the Seattle Seahawks. Jumping up 3 spots at 6-3. What a start for Seattle. I mean, what a past few games. Cardinals just beat the Cardinals. They swept them to basically eliminate the Cardinals from this playoff chase in the NFC West. Wow. What a win for Geno Smith and the Seahawks. This defense has stepped it up over the past few weeks. This offense has looked very impressive under Smith and Kenneth Walker. They're running the football very well with him. This team, I just had these draft classes, man, the past decade in 2012, that draft class, they got so many good pieces. This might even be better. They have like 5, even 6 with Boye Mafe if you want to count him in. He got a sack. 6 impact players for this team that are starting, playing at a good, not just only good, but some of these are playing at a very high level. Wow, it is crazy what is going on in Seattle right now ever since they traded away Russell Wilson. The Seahawks, I do think that they should be taken seriously at this point. Their defense has really turned things around. This offense of Geno Smith is not showing any signs of slowing down. And I think that they're a contender. I think that they should be taken seriously in all honesty. And I think that they're the number 8 team in the league. Number 7, though, we're going to have the Tennessee Titans jumping up 3 spots. I know they lost, and you're like, why are the Titans jumping up so much here? Well, Tennessee, Malik Willis in this game, that was the reason probably why they lost that game. They had 17 points. They could have won that game. But, I'm going to go out on a limb. If Ryan Tannehill's playing that game, they probably beat the Chiefs. And that is a hard feat to do. But the Titans have proven to me, I think, that they're a solid team. Their defense especially. This defense is legit. They really held Patrick Mahomes. This Chiefs offense to not much. And Patrick Mahomes did his thing, and unfortunately they came up short. But this team is just so freaking good, man. I mean, this defense is so freaking good. Been very impressive. Just a very, very good coach team, and they're impressed me so far. So let's move on to number 6, though. We're going to have the Miami Dolphins jumping up a spot. Tua Tagovailoa has a big week as well. This offense is explosive, getting the win over the Bears. Now, I will say this defense has showed some disappointing signs over the past few weeks. Just almost losing this game to the Bears, giving up 35 points. They added Chubb to the lineup, but didn't make too much of an impact this week. They're going to need to get some of these injuries figured out. But this offense is explosive. This team is just very good, and I do believe they should be a contender right now in the National Football League. Let's go into number 5. We're going to have the San Francisco 49ers staying at the same spot on bye this week, so not going to move anything. And a number 4 team also on bye this week, the Dallas Cowboys. They got a game against the Green Bay Packers this week, which was probably, you would expect that to be a very solid game, but Green Bay kind of sucks right now. So I expect the Cowboys to steamroll them. And then the top 3 teams in the league, they might even should own a tier of their own right now. I'm going to keep them down here. Who do I pick for number 3? This might be pretty disappointing for some of you guys, but number 3, I do still think is the Philadelphia Eagles. Stay at the same spot. Look, the Eagles, they looked impressive. I mean, they've looked impressive all year. They're the last undefeated team remaining. But it doesn't really change my opinion on them, just barely beating the Texans by like 14. The Texans were in that game for the first half. So, I mean, I'm not sure about the Eagles, about jumping them ahead of the 2 best teams in the league, in my opinion. They've been very impressive. Jalen Hurts has played at a very high level, but it's still not enough for me to move this team up. And I do think that they should still be taken very seriously. But I just don't think that they're on the level of number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs, and then number 1, the Bills. I'll just throw them up there, which the Chiefs stayed in the same spot. This week proved that they can win these scrappy games against the Titans. Patrick Mahomes carried this team on their back. This defense looked solid against the Tennessee Titans. And they looked very impressive this week. They didn't look too impressive, but they got the win. And that's all that matters in the National Football League, if you can get the win. And this defense has looked solid. The offense, Patrick Mahomes carried them, and it was enough to beat the Titans barely in overtime. And then number 1, the Buffalo Bills. They did lose to the New York Jets. Don't get me wrong here. I do think this is still the best team in the league with Josh Allen. Josh Allen, though, he made some mistakes in this previous game against the Jets. They basically lost this game because of Josh Allen. I'm going to be honest with you. They probably win if Josh Allen plays at his normal level. We're going to have to see if he keeps that up, but I do think that they're still number 1. They beat the Chiefs earlier this year, and I do think that they're still the best team in the league. But right now, 1 through 3, it is tough for me to decide on these teams, but you got to go with some of them, and that's who I went with. So anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully you all enjoyed the content. This is a very big contender tier right here. I don't remember the last time it was this big. So comment down below your power rankings. And anyway, peace out.